I wanted to talk too a little bit about this 5000 series launch. Has anybody, I highly doubt it, but has anybody managed to get one? Like they were looking to buy one and actually got one? Because apparently nobody can get them. And they're saying that the new MO for Nvidia, they say they launch it, but then they never actually ship out like any units or very many units at all. Like they're never prepared to meet demand. I think the most likely reasoning for it is just that they know they're getting most of their revenue off of selling to like AI customers now. That they don't really care about the gaming scene that much anymore. It's kind of like, a side project for them. There's really not as much motivation as maybe there once was. I think they did do it for the 40 series. And I will tell you, as somebody who owns a 30 series GPU, that was probably the worst launch in graphics card history, was the 30 series. The 50 series doesn't seem nearly as bad, but there was no protections in place for stopping scalping. I think, when did that release during COVID? I want to say it was around the pandemic, and that just like put things into overdrive because everybody was stuck at home trying to get their hands on gaming gear to pass the time. But the prices were insane. I don't think I think it was 2 years after release that I got the 3070, and I remember even then it was difficult to find anything for MSRP from 2 years prior, right? And now it's like the 40 series cards. Can you get 40 series cards for MSRP? I don't even know if you can. 40 series card, probably a 4060, I'd imagine, is probably MSRP now. I should actually do research into these things before I talk about them. But yeah, the chip shortage, I do remember that. That was part of it. It was a perfect storm for just the worst possible GPU release. And it's always crazy, man. People go nuts over GPUs. The funny thing is, nowadays, most of these games are CPU throttle. Like they're locked to your CPU. The GPU can more than handle what the game is putting out, but the CPU locks up. I guess if you have some kick-ass CPU, but I don't know. That's the vibe that I get. So I don't even really get the GPU craze. I guess it's just for AI stuff, right? I remember crypto mining was a big thing, and people mining Ethereum off of them, which I don't know if that's really a thing anymore. But yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, if I go on like Amazon, let's try for a 4070. They probably don't even make these anymore, so these prices aren't going to be legit. That's probably below MSRP or around there, I'd say. I think the 60 generation, or not generation, what do you even call that? Like sub tier? I don't know. Tier. The 60 tier is always going to be the easiest to get. It seems like they have the most stock in that, and people don't always want them as much. And the 60 tier has always been like the Toyota Corolla of GPUs. Is that it's always going to be best bang for your buck, budget. You can get a pre-built with 50 series. Yeah, so the pre-builds you can usually get. I'll tell you what, the real crazies are the ones that they don't want to deal with all this shit, so they just buy the pre-built. But all they do is they take the card out of it and then part out the rest of it. They don't even use the pre-built. They just buy the whole pre-built so they can get the card. It's kind of wild, but there's definitely people that do that. That's like fuck you money, man. It's like fuck the scalpers, fuck the waiting in lines. I'm just buying a pre-built for that card. But yeah, it's a tough market for GPUs. I'm not planning on upgrading anytime soon. There've been instances where I've felt the pain of the VRAM, because I think I'm sorry, but it is criminal that the 3070 only had 8 gigabytes of VRAM and the 3060 had 12. Like, what the fuck was that? It should have been the other way around. I would have been totally happy with 12 gigabytes of VRAM, but when I would play Cyberpunk, it would cap out the VRAM and it would bottleneck me. Like, you see I don't know if this has happened to anybody else playing games, but you see your util be like really low. Like the game is like choppy. The frames are not great. but like your GPU and CPU utilization is at like 50%. And you're like, what gives, man? Like, use the hardware. It's because of shit like memory bus issues. Like, it's trying to swap memory around on the GPU because there's not enough VRAM. Like, that slows shit down. So yeah, people were talking about that. Let me look up the specs here. You know what? Let's just use the AI overview. I'm pretty sure this is accurate. 32 gigabytes in the 5090. I don't think that's terrible. It really starts to hit you in the lower end cards. Cause this shit should have been. All right, what the fuck is the 5070 Ti? What AI is this? Bard? What the fuck, Bard? Here we go. We got a Reddit thread. Yeah, this is what I need here. Oh, there is a 5070 Ti? Wow, now I look dumb. There literally is a 5070 Ti already. Okay. There's a 5050 specs? 50-50 chance it'll work. All right, 8 gigabytes in the 5050. 8 gigabytes in the 5060. What the? 12 gigabytes. Oh no. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's the thing, is you look at these, like the 16 series and even like the 10 series, and it's like comparable amounts of VRAM. And it's not like games are getting that much more efficient. Like, why do we need this many teraflops of performance when I'm bottlenecked on the bus? You know, if you're trying to game it at 2K or 4K, you're fucked. Like, you're not gonna be able to do it on the 5060. You're not gonna be able to do it on the 5070. I guess they're just hoping to God that DLSS takes care of it. I don't know. I guess they've done the research, but it's sad. Like, we should be seeing at least 16 gigabytes in the 5070 now, which they put that in the TI version, and 8 gigabytes in the 5060. That's a slap in the face, considering that the 3060 had 12 gigabytes. Seriously, 2 generations ago, your 60 tier card has 4 gigabytes more? Yeah, that is so weird to me. It was always strange that the 60 had more VRAM than the 70. Maybe they were trying to like cover up some sort of shortcoming in the card. You would think that the 5080 would also have 24. That's what I think people would expect here, is at bare minimum 12 gigabytes in the 60, 16 in the 70, 24 in the 80, and 32 in the 90. I think that would be a low-end reasonable expectation, but I guess they're just saying, I guess from Nvidia's point of view here, nobody is going to be rendering native 4K. Nobody is going to be rendering native 2K anymore. Everybody's going to be rendering 1080p and DLSS, which, to be fair, I think DLSS looks okay. I mean, I don't think it's ever going to be on par with native, or it's not going to be as good as native, but I think it could become on par, generally speaking, with native. So I guess they're thinking, you know, why put VRAM in it? Everybody's just going to be rendering at 1080p. Frame gen is awful. That is a fair take. And I think it's in such a weird place, because the problem with this frame gen stuff now is your frame gen is causing input lag. Well, it's not causing input lag. It's that you're generating actual frames at like 20 FPS or something, and you're seeing frames coming out of your monitor at like 60 FPS. It's generating 3 times as many frames, but all of your inputs and stuff are still locked to that 20. So it causes a lot of weird wonkiness with your inputs. It seems to me that frame gen works best when you're using it at like 80 FPS or something already. Like, you're already generating over 60 frames per second. Then it seems to work well. But the problem is, why would you even really want to do frame gen at that point anyway? DLSS seems to make more sense to me, the upscaling, but that breaks down at low native resolutions too. But yeah, the frame gen, it just seems like, why? You know, why are so many resources being put into that? So now these cards, it's just, we're just on the 30 series repeat, and they just add more AI shit to it every generation now. But the actual raw performance gains are not amazing. And I don't, you know, Moore's law is kind of dying here. We're not going to be seeing astronomical performance gains that much longer. I think we've already kind of seen the end of it. That we're hitting limits on things. Not to say that those ceilings can't be shattered. And I think eventually we will come across innovations that allow us to continue to push the limits. But we're at an impasse. So until that happens, it's gonna be like this for the foreseeable future. Maybe it'll get game devs to be a little bit more cognizant of performance. You get something good out of it. 4D gaming.
Hit that follow button, bitch.